Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. This is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, and I am so excited to talk to you today, just in a solo episode, to talk about how we're starting our year. This is one of those times a year where we really like to reflect on the past, kind of set our direction and our goals for the future. If you were to get your free journal that walks you through, I just finished doing mine, and I love this journal because it really helped me reflect on this past year, kind of break down moments that I completely even forgot about and looked at the impact they had on how I was looking to plan ahead. And in general, this year was made up of a lot of different wins as well as challenges. I've become part of that sandwich generation as my parents have had some health issues that required me becoming more of their caretaker, hitting some bumps in areas of my business that I wasn't necessarily anticipating, and maybe some areas I want to expand in that didn't quite take off as much maybe as I've hoped, but also I had some great wins involved, growing maybe some other parts of my business, my network, pivoting into some areas that are really lighting me up that I'm excited to dive further into. And, going through this process of reflection has really helped me learn from both those triumphs and those challenges, especially. That's really where I learned and grew a lot. And it's kind of like having a conversation with your own life teacher where you get to kind of see what didn't work, why it didn't work, and help kind of intentionally plan differently to have a different outcome going forward in the future, and kind of getting those nuggets of wisdom from those messy moments in our life. That reflection really helped build, almost like a self-awareness. You hold a mirror up to your inner self, your inner thoughts, and go through that self-discovery. It's going to help you uncover not just your strengths, but your weaknesses, your values, your beliefs, so that when you go into 2024 and you're planning things, you're staying aligned with those things that we always say we want to focus on and work on and be aligned with. But if we aren't intentional, if we don't really set it out there, say it, sometimes it can kind of get lost as we fall back into some habits and routines and things like that. It allows us to course correct. Like I said, there's a lot of twists and turns. And so you can really recalculate maybe where I went off course, where I went wrong, what detour I maybe needed to take or could take going forward, and re-look at some of those maybe things that didn't go well or mistakes, not necessarily as roadblocks, but see them as opportunities to really help pivot and redirect into a better destination of where you want to go next year. It's also time to, like I said, really celebrate those victories, find those gratitude moments. Gratitude is huge for me. If you listen to me at all, you know that I believe that's kind of an untapped area of our self-care that we don't focus on enough. And that's a part of this journal as well, to really kind of hone in on that gratitude and acknowledge, those things big and small that can really motivate us and keep us going forward. And so I really, again, believe in this power of reflection, in its ability to help fuel our growth mindset of not what we haven't done, but what we haven't done yet, and what's possible for us, and what kind of progress we're going to be able to make, so that you can evolve, adapt, and become that next level version of yourself as we continue to grow on our journey. And so you'll hear a lot of talk, I'm sure, this time of year about people setting New Year's resolutions, setting their New Year's intentions, setting their goals, their words. And there really is a difference, though, between resolutions and intentions. And so even though I think they get used interchangeably, I do want to kind of break down what some of the differences between the two of those. So resolutions are kind of more like some of the goals and actions you plan to take. Like, I will go to the gym every day in 2024. I will eat healthy. There's specific goals or targets that you set and where you're aiming for a noticeable change in your behavior or in something that you're going to achieve. Unfortunately, sometimes resolutions can fall into that all or nothing trap of if you missed something, if you didn't quite get it right, we feel like we didn't achieve that resolution. And often they have a set time frame, which is usually tied to the start of the new year, but it can also kind of push us into a box of our resolutions because they are so specific. What I love about intentions is that they're more about the journey than the actual destination. They're more about the way you're thinking about things, focusing on the broader of how you want to live your life, emphasizing those present moments and those values rather than just a specific action to achieve. Intentions can also be more forgiving because they can be flexible and adaptive to how your life happens, and recognizing that they don't have to be as rigid as resolutions, as all or nothing, but you can adapt to different circumstances without feeling like you failed. As well as a lot of times intentions come from more from our feelings, from our passions, from the heart. And so being able to focus on those intentions can give you a different motivation than just the actual outcome and achievement. Now, none of this is to say that one is good or bad or better than the other. Like I said, they do work well together by having that broad intention. And then the resolution is kind of helping you create those steps to stay in alignment with your intentions. And so they really can work very well together. And so when you set those resolutions as part of your intention, definitely use the SMART goal system when you're doing that. I have a previous podcast episode specifically on SMART goals that I will link in the show notes below so that you can really kind of structure it in a way that's going to help you to be successful. So when you have a SMART goal, I'll quickly kind of run through it. The acronym stands for S is specific, which means you know exactly what actions you're going to take. M is measurable. You're going to be able to tell, did I do it or not do it? A is achievable, which means it's realistic and it's something you actually could do. You know, like saying you're going to read 20 books in a week is probably not achievable if you work full time and have a life outside of that. But to be able to set it maybe 20 books in a year is going to be more achievable. R, make sure it's relevant. Make sure it's in alignment. Again, setting that goal in alignment with your intention is going to help it be more relevant. And the last one, T, is time bound. That means not necessarily setting a strict deadline, but when it's a realistic and achievable goal, you can then say, you know, have benchmarks so that you can see the progress that you're making, so you can celebrate those wins. Because when we set a goal, we don't always have to get to the finish line. Sometimes just seeing the progress we're making is going to help us stay on track and keep working towards that destination. And so if you're anything like me, like I said, I love the new year. I love the beginning of the school year. I love those times where we feel like we're making a fresh start, like opening a chapter in a new book and complete with, you know, blank pages that you can start filling in, that you can start crafting and creating your own story, because the possibilities are infinite. They're only as possible as what you set your mind to. And so being able to know that you can chart a new path and a new destination at any point, whenever you choose to start these types of intentions and planning, is so powerful. Knowing that you can reset and maybe let go of certain things and move forward and change that outcome is a nice reset to start the year with. Having, again, that optimism, that clean slate, knowing that you can go ahead, dream big and make it happen. But as I said, we've reflected in the beginning. And so we're not going to forget about the past. We're going to learn from it, because that fresh start lets you take the lessons, the victories and even those plot twists that we didn't see coming, and use them to craft a more informed and exciting future. One of my favorite quotes, I'm not sure who it's said by, I haven't been able to find the author, but it says that it all works out the end. And if it's not worked out, it's not the end. And I believe that is so kind of representative of the journey of our life, because there's always something we're still working on, working towards, growing towards, learning with, and being able to see that as part of our ultimate journey. It's not about finding that end point and thinking, haha, I made it, I'm done, but finding that success along the way. So have a fantastic new year. Like I said in the beginning, if you did not catch a free copy of the Reflect Renew Journal, tap on the link below, send me a DM or a message. I will send it out to you. It's never too late to kind of take a moment, sit, craft your future. What do you want to achieve? What are some of the things you want to leave behind, you don't want to take into the new year? And to be able to intentionally focus on it, write about it, and put your new future out there is the first step in making it actually happen. Let me know in the comments any questions you have, and I can't wait to talk to you and see you soon. Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.